there, welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to do a review, which I haven't done yet, but it's basically this. I'm going to do a review on the first book in Storymakers trilogy. I'm almost done with the second one, so the review should come today probably. So yeah, third book, I don't know when I'm going to finish it. Hopefully it won't take as long as taking the second book. I've been occupied with work and trying to get back into my routine after 2 weeks off, so yeah, that's fun. So this is Spell, the first book of Storymakers trilogy. So it starts off with Dorothea. She hates her life. She wants to leave the palace walls, but she's not allowed to because of this emerald curse that was like one of her ancestors centuries beforehand had royally angered a powerful being and put a curse on them, but it didn't work on them. So, but it kind of went like in the bloodline. So going like all the emerald princesses, all the women and their family aren't allowed to leave the palace because of the curse in case it comes true, because they're supposed to, I forgot what the emerald curse was, but basically they're supposed to erupt in flames, and they can get so powerful to the point where they can destroy the world. So that's fun. And she also is going to have to marry Kato, who is someone she does not like, someone who is a royal jerk, which I think I mentioned in other videos where I mentioned Dorothea and Kato's relationship, that I couldn't stand either one of them in the beginning, but they both grew on me a lot, and especially Kato, he became my favorite. Dorothea's second, definitely. Rexy, she did grow on me a little bit to the point where I didn't hate her anymore, but I still don't like her. So yeah. Anyways, so she meets this little girl at the ball right before she finds out she has to marry Kato, and the little girl says she made her this wishing star. It was just it looked like just like paper or plastic or something that was kind of turned into a star, you know, a normal little girl's project they worked on, and she said you can wish on it, and she was like thank you, and then after the whole Kato fiasco, she ends up holding it and ends up making a wish, but then she didn't actually expect anything to come out of it. So she just made a wish, and then it ended up breaking the rules of fairy tale. So like Belle became a beast. I forgot the other one. That's the only one I remember. But several things happened at the ball. All the fairy tale characters, something happened to them all, including Dorothea's parents being Dorothea's parents were changed, or not changed. They disappeared. You don't find out until where until the end of the end of this book, but yeah, so she ends up breaking the rules of fairy tale. And then Verda, who is this witch, who she has who has kind of always been there for Dorothea. Dorothea always felt alone at the palace, could never really talk to either one of her parents, especially her mom, and Verda was always kind of there for her. And Verda tells her to not take off her shoes. She finds out why later. And then she said, go with Rexy, who is a servant who basically does whatever Verda says because she has to. And told Rexy to take her out of the palace while Verda, because the little girl transformed into Grizz, who is this evil sorceress. And so Verda was holding her off while they left. They packed up what was necessary, and then Dorothea ends up finding Kato, who is now a chimera, I think is how it's pronounced, which is this mythical beast. Only it looked like a cub. But she said, no, we're not taking you. Then they leave. Turns out he stole away, and he was getting bigger and bigger. He gets bigger throughout the book. But so they're supposed to go to this, what was it, like this mythical rainbow or something, because all their answers will be there. So they're supposed to find it, but no one knows where it is. And yeah, so and now for a while, quite a while, Dorothea thought Verda died because she kind of just disappeared, and Grizz ended up following them, attacking them at several different areas in the book, and Vernon never showed up, so she was afraid that, you know, the only friend she's ever had was dead. So yeah, that's fun. Dorothea is a selfish brat, and she always kind of keeps that part of her throughout the series, which is one thing I love, because they do change her character to make her likable, make her lovable. Because at first, at least for me, she wasn't. I didn't like her, but maybe that was just me. But at the same point, rereading this the second time, I realized that I kind of understand why she was that way a little bit. Maybe not the selfish or brat part, but the way she was so, how do I explain it? Like, the way she constantly nitpicked at her mom, why she always got so angry, so uncontrollable, so, I don't know, teenager-ish, I guess. It's because she just hated her life, and she hated that she was forced to stay inside in a life that she didn't want because of what one of her ancestors did. That would make anyone grumpy, you know? But anyways, so Dorothea, Kato, and Rexy go on this journey, and they end up meeting someone, the Crow. Yeah, that was her name. And she takes them to her house, where all of a sudden Dorothea passes out. And then when she wakes up, Rexy's nowhere to be found, and Kato is next to her and like all comfortable, so she gets all angry that he's just laying there helping Crow when she, you know, drugged Dorothea, and he ends up putting his paw out, and this force field knocked it back, saying, I'm not as, you know, doing this because I want to as you might think. And she's like, oh, okay. But turns out Crow was angry because none of her spells and potions are working the way it used to, because Dorothea broke the rules of fairy tale, so she was giving her to Crow. Or Crow was giving her to Grizz, that's what I meant. And so yeah. But Dorothea was tried her hardest to escape, and she was actually doing something. She was fighting Crow, and then Crow threw a potion at her, and she erupted in flames, the Emerald Curse coming to reality. But it didn't consume her, not yet at least. It made her hair go all up in flames, and Crow explains that if she gets it wet, if all the flames go out, she dies, because it's like life magic. Like, Kato has life magic too. If he loses all of his fingernails, because he can do pretty much whatever he wants with his magic. He has like ice magic, like she has fire magic after this moment, but he has ice magic as a chimera. But anyways, he can use his life magic to do whatever he wants. Life magic is the most powerful form of magic on here, and but by using life magic, you're taking away your own life chip by chip. So, like, in this book, I think he uses like one entire hand to help Dorothea, because they get really close. So yeah. So he's losing all his life magic, which is not fun. So Dorothea's life magic is now in her hair, or her flames, more like. So, she does get some water droplets on her hair throughout the book, but she manages to not make, like, the entire fire go out. So, but she ends up accidentally, Crow has a giant tin man go after them, and then she accidentally turns Crow into a scarecrow with her magic, because she gets so angry at Crow, because she doesn't know how to control her magic yet, she just got it. And the Tin Man falls onto the house after they all left. And, so, yeah. They thought Crow died. And you don't find out what happens to her until the second book. But, so, they end up finding Rexy, and they all leave. And they find shelter with Hydra, and they end up Dorothea and Kato go to her house. Rexy stayed a little bit behind, and then I don't remember if this was actually before or after they met Crow. It might have been before, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say it because I don't really remember. And Hydra takes them to her house, and she finds a whole lot of heads, and she's like, "Oh no, she's gonna make me one of her heads." Turns out that was a bit misunderstanding, which you find out later in this book. So they end up running off. And at one point, Dorothea, I don't remember how it happened. I don't remember how she got there, or because I know the wizard who is in love with Dorothea, who sends her stuff and asks for, basically wants to marry her and her to be his because he was in love with an emerald princess years and years before, and since he has no idea what happened to her, he wants Dorothea. He ends up saving them and takes them to his palace, and then Kato ends up having to go to the stable. Rexy ends up having to stay outside so he could talk to Dorothea. Next thing you know, Dorothea wakes up and she doesn't really remember anything. She doesn't remember who she is or what she's doing here, and Verda is there and Rexy, and they all talk to her about how she's gonna be. And she was like, I remember something about marrying and this and that. And then what she remembered was his blue eyes, because they're like really deep ice blue, and she remembers that more than anything. And wait, was this before or after they went to the Chimeras? I should have done this review like right after I finished it, but I forgot. Okay, that's the scene I was just talking about, isn't it? That's funny. Okay, yeah, they went to Kato's home first and found out that he's the king of the Chimeras, because the king of the Chimeras used to be an actual Chimera until he became human because of the person he was in love with, who was human. And now, ever since then, the person who ruled the Chimeras was a human. So, but he did become a Chimera, and Bob, I forgot his actual name, but Dorothea calls him Bob because she can't pronounce his actual name. Kato's the only one who calls him his actual name. But he's very loyal to Kato and will help, even though there is one Chimera who isn't loyal. And while they're there, Rexy makes a comment about Dorothea and Kato, and Dorothea is like, I don't know what you're talking about or something, and Rexy, he hates me, and Rexy's like, after this is all over, I'm gonna have to give you some girl talk because friends don't let friends be as dumb as you are. And then Dorothea got confused. She's like, wait, we're friends? I thought, because, she didn't think Rexy liked her very much. Which, if you read this book, you understand why she would think that. Because Rexy used to not like her, but apparently things changed. Dorothea hadn't even realized it. But yeah, but then, they get attacked and have to leave, the Chimera kingdom, and that's when they end up finding the wizard who helps them. And then, so they're talking about Dorothea's wedding, and she remembers the suitor that her mom wanted her to marry, and she remembers his blue eyes, and that's what she can picture. And finally, her wedding day came up, and she strode down the aisle, and then when she sees him, she's like, wait, that's not him. And then all of a sudden the flames started to consume her, and she loses control. She started burning everything, and him and everything, because she's like, this is not real. Because I don't remember how she remembered, but she ends up remembering everything. So she ends up burning everything because she gets angry. And then she ends up fighting Rexy because Rexy's like, I was never on your side, princess, this and that. And then that makes her only angrier because Rexy betrayed her. So she, so they're fighting, and then she's finally realizes she needs to get out of there. So she goes to this broken window and yells for Kato, and Kato finally breaks out of his area that he was broken from and was able to save her, and they leave. She was going to take Verda with her, but then she realized that it's not Verda because the Oz is also known as the Mimicman, and he can basically change into any form. He changed into Verda, her mom, and her dad right before her eyes, so they just left. And then he explains everything that happened with Rexy, and then they like crash something, and he into the water, and she but she was able to get out before flames died out. And I think she landed on something, so there was some water that splashed on her, but she didn't actually land in the water, because if she did, then all her friends would have been splashed out. And Kato ends up really hurting a wing, and then that's when they meet Hydra, and then the thing that they landed on ends up taking them to Hydra, and she's like, this must be a mistake, this and that, and then Hydra comes out along with Rexy, and then Dorothea gets angry and goes up to Rexy and starts fighting her, and then Hydra ends up helping. Dorothea uses her magic to get Kato inside without even meaning to. She just really was pleading for him to be able to get inside the door, because the door was too small for him to fit through, because at this point he got really big. And she was just pleading for him to be able to go inside the door, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, he was inside. And then she was like, I'm keeping my eye on you, talking about Rexy. And then Hydra was able to help Kato. He lost his wing, one of his wings, so she ends up finding another wing that's the right fit, but it's a slightly lighter color than him, but she's like, that's gonna have to do. And then when Kato gets up, he gets so angry at seeing Rexy, and then because at this, Dorothea, while he was still unconscious, Dorothea realized that it was the Mimicman that had transformed into Rexy. So so Rexy was because she had washed up after the wizard did everything he did. He did something with Rexy, and she ended up washing ashore with Hydra. She's been there ever since. So yeah, and then Dorothy has to stop Kato, saying that Rexy's on their side, and she was like, fine, but I'm keeping my eye on you. And then I can't speak. Kato asks if there's a way Hydra can make him human again, and Hydra's like, yes, but it may not work, this and that, because of the complications with the spell and with the ways the rules of fairy tale are going on now. And Dorothea wasn't sure if she wanted to risk it, because she liked Kato the way it was, and she didn't want anything bad to happen to him. And I don't remember. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can find that scene, because I really love that scene. I marked it. Okay, this is when he woke up. Okay, this should be it, right? Okay, I passed it. Hold on. It's here. Is this the tab of it? I know it's had it. Okay, no. So I must pick this tab. So okay. So she got angry at Hydra, because she was like, I have no need for love fools. She told Kato that he should just find a nice Chimera girl, because, you know, and she was just pretty much baiting Dorothea. And it's funny what happens, because I'm gonna read this little part. My temper and hair crackled, and I wasn't about to. So spoilers if you don't want to know. I mean, this entire video spoilers, so you don't want to know exactly what it says. I skip it a little bit ahead. But it says, my temper and hair crackled, and I wasn't going to let that wench get the last word. I stalked after Hydra and turned her around. Hey, you don't know Jack's brat. Hakano could be proofs with green stripes that clashed with everything I own. He could turn into a mountain troll and eat nothing but goats. Wouldn't change a thing. And you're right, he might be stupid for wanting me, but for some reason he does. Curse, shoe addiction, and all. The little thing he like being furry won't stop me from falling in love with him. And then Hydra was like, that's all I wanted to hear. I love that scene. Obviously, I tabbed it. I tabbed it red for romantic scenes, because I tabbed red for all the like sweet scenes I love between my favorite couples. So yeah. And then Katsu tried talking to her about it, and she's like, and she's like, gotta go, bye. But then where's the scene where he talks to her? Okay. I'm gonna read a little bit more. Last time. Okay, Kato stopped me. No, you listen. He moved his head and close, resting his brow bridge on my forehead so I could see nothing but those ice blue eyes. At the tower, it was obvious that it was one of you, and he was very handsome, so I was jealous. I tried to interject, but he just kept going on. And when they locked me up, I knew something was wrong. I had nothing to do with my time, but worried about what he was doing to you. Had he put his hands on you, the thought that made me want to rip that tower down brick by brick. I realized it wasn't just because I was concerned for your safety, but because no one should be allowed to touch you but me. Aww. I need to be with you, he continued, backing up a step. I would rather blow up than live a lifetime without being able to kiss you. It may be unreasonable, but I won't settle for anything less than happily ever after in love with you. It was so sweet, but it did work, sort of. They realized that maybe they need a true love kiss kind of thing, so Dorothy kissed him and he turned it back, but then later on when they kissed, he turned back into Chimera, and I found out that that was going to happen every time. If he wants to be a Chimera, then they're going to have to kiss. If he wants to be human, they're going to have to kiss, and yeah. So, but yeah, so, and then they end up finding the rainbow, and they end up going there. But and they had this whole plan but Gris gets there too, and Dorothea concocts this whole plan that could get them do what they need to do to put things the way they belong, and then but in the end it would have to be Rexy that does the final thing, and Dorothea's like, I believe in you, and then Rexy ends up when she was halfway there ends up going back, but not to Dorothea, to Gris, and handing her the potion that she's supposed to drop in the volcano to stop everything. And they realized that Rexy had betrayed them. But then Dorothea realized that it was because Gris had this opal necklace that was like earlier in the book they found out that an opal necklace, or a necklace like that, had someone's like soul or life magic inside it. So so she can just break it and Rexy would die, because it was Rexy's soul that she had in there, and they had no idea. So yeah, and then they end up going back to the Chimera place. I think that's where they went. I might be wrong, but for some reason that's what I want to think they went. And yeah, they did, because that one Chimera I mentioned that wasn't exactly loyal ended up helping Gris. And so yeah, so Dorothy ends up having to have this whole blowout with Gris. Gris is trying to free Blanc, because early in the story when they were in the Chimera place for the first time, Candace told them the story about Blanc, and she was, one of the most important jobs of the Chimera king was to make sure Blanc stays in prison, because she's one of the most evil people anyone has ever seen, even more evil than Gris and their sisters, which no one knew at that point. Dorothy is the one that figured it out. So she was like prisoned there, and trapped by flames, and the only thing that can free her is water to snuff out the flames, because they're like magical flames, and unless water gets on them and vanquishes the flames, she can't get released. So yeah, and something else that's important is that earlier in the book, they realized Oz, who's the wizard, told them that Gris is allergic to water, so that's why she never follows them if they go over water, if they fly over water or something. So yeah. But anyways, So Dorothea finds out that her parents are in this realm, different kind of realm called Kansas, and she has a chance to work with them, but to help Grizz and then be reunited with them. But she obviously does. At first, it was tempting. I mean, it would be tempting for anyone. And that's one thing I do love about the series. Even though at the beginning I did have issues with Dorothea and Kato, and I still have issues with Rexy. One thing I love is that it shows how flawed everyone is, and shows it quite well, and it kind of really accents on their flaws, because that's life, you know. And sometimes in books people want to forget that their characters should have flaws, but they do have flaws. Sometimes they break down, sometimes they don't want to be the chosen one, and they want to give up, and they do give up, but a good story, they always come back. And it showed Dorothea's temptation. It showed her how much she wanted to just give up and stop everything, stop fighting it, and just let the power consume her, and then go to this Kansas to be with her parents again. But in the end, she didn't. And then there are two verdicts come. One looking all wounded, the other one looking perfectly fine. And then they know that only one of them can be the real verdict. So they realize that one of them must be the Mimic Man. I don't remember how they found out. It was the wounded one, but I don't remember how they found out it was that one. But Grizz ends up throwing a storm bolt at Dorothea, but Rexy jumps in front, dying. And which it all happened in a flash, and Dorothea ends up like, no, and she gets all upset, and then Grizz has this little bottle of water heading to where Blanc's prison is to pour it on there and free Blanc. But Dorothea remembers something, so she ends up smashing it when she's still several yards away from her sister, and it erupts on her, and she ends up melting because she's allergic to it, and the water can kill her. So now she's dead, water puddle near Blanc's cage, and so she ends up, and then Dorothea is there looking at Rexy, and then she realizes that she can save her with her part of her life magic, and she does, and she saves her, and but now they're bound, which is a big part of the second book. They're bound, so it's like they can feel each other even when they're not around. They can see each other's memories, see what's going on, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a big part of the second book. But yeah, so Kato ends up taking Rexy away so that she could feel better, or so that she could rest, and because she can't walk, and right now she's still very weak from the storm balls. And then Dorothea talks to Berta, and they talk about this Kansas place, and they talk about other stuff. What else do they talk about? Because I don't remember. See what happened. Oh yeah, Oz comes, or not Oz. Yes, it was Oz. The wizard wasn't Oz. This is Oz. He's a Storymaker. They basically write all the fairy tales and the rules of magic and stuff like that. And he appears and tells them that he's gonna teach. Apparently, him and Bertie know each other, and he tells them he's gonna teach Dorothea how to be a Storymaker, and so he's gonna help her control her magic and this and that, and become even more powerful. So that's pretty much how it ends. Well, sort of. The epilogue is when Blanc sees the puddle of water and was able to use the little bit of magic, because since the rules of magic broke, she was able to use the last little bit of her energy to bring the water towards her and snuff out the flames, and then she was free. And that's how it ended. Of course, that's how it has to end, right? Apparently. So yeah, that's this book. I'm almost done the second book, so this review for it should come either today or tomorrow, depending on when I actually feel like making it. So yeah, but you guys should read it. It's not one of my favorite series, but I do like it enough to reread it, and I do recommend it if this is kind of your stuff, And yeah, So that's all for that. Please like and subscribe and comment your thoughts on this book. And you can follow me on Twitter, Bookstagram, and Goodreads as Secret Books. And I'll talk to you guys later.